Actually, being part of the challenge, we have been in this society where um, giving young people the opportunity to be able to thrive effectively, to be able to learn, to be able to um, lead their own processes, have been a far-fetched reality for majority of young people. So you being part of those kind of challenges, you sleep with them, you wake with it, you eat with it and everything. You build inspiration from those daily challenges that you've had to struggle with. Proper societal reconciliation. But as time went by, we refocused our engagement more into more enabling development interventions to be able to ensure that we use the catalytic powers of young people to be able to transform society. So till now, we are in several sectors like in conflict prevention and mitigation, more precisely peace building. We are into water and sanitation, we are in health, we are in governance, we are in education. So we currently have 2 physical offices in Sierra Leone, and there is a program already ongoing in Liberia as well. So ever since then, we have actually been able to ensure that we use the power of young people to be able to also serve as agents of change.
Wonderful. I'm sure every Sierra Leone is proud of you for doing this.
Absolutely.
So tell us more about how and when did you decide to start this?
Actually, being part of the challenge, we have been in this society where um, giving young people the opportunity to be able to thrive effectively, to be able to learn, to be able to um, lead their own processes, have been a far-fetched reality for majority of young people. So you being part of those kind of challenges, you sleep with them, you wake with it, you eat with it and everything. You build inspiration from those daily challenges that you've had to struggle with. And based on those challenges, we came together to be able to ensure that we build motivation from those daily struggles that we have had to undergo as young people, and from the daily struggles of our colleagues who are also not able to also voice their own concerns. So being able to provide them with the required tools to be able to ensure that their voices get heard, but most significantly, to be able to ensure that their voices are also transforming the way they live and society generally, has been a key driving force to our work. And part of the work that we have significantly done over the period is the fact that we have worked very concretely to influence policies, not because we felt there was this need, for youth mainstreaming in development, but because it's a right to be able to ensure that every young person is given the opportunity to be able to contribute to their own processes.
Wonderful. You helping out the youth. We always say that we are for each other, but then you are proving it to the world, and that is a
Absolutely.
very touching thing. You are
Thank you.
also the chair. You are also the chairman of WashNet, a water sanitation and hygiene network. So please tell us more about that.
WashNet is a network of civil society organizations precisely in water and sanitation. And in 2010, the Youth Partnership for Peace and Development spearheaded the formation of the WASH network. And the fact that we have not had a national platform of civil societies to be able to ensure that we spotlight the key issues of lacking accessibility to basic water supply and sanitation services, we came together to be able to ensure that we are able to spotlight the issues and to be able to bring more prominence for government to be able to take more concrete and conscious actions. Because when you look at key instances of cholera, you look at key instances of diarrhea, it's simply because people were surviving from unprotected water sources. So until and unless we get people to be able to have access to those basic and essential services, it was necessary that we form that network, and it has 97 member institutions across the country. So what we
Wow.
now do is to be able to ensure that we influence the way policies are made with respect to access to basic water supply and sanitation. We work with government to be able to not only build their capacities with respect to how the services must be delivered, but to be able to also provide them with clear evidences as to how that informs their own decision making and planning when it comes to the delivery of essential services. And lastly, to be able to also empower local communities to be able to manage their own limited water services. Because we can talk about providing the services, but if government is also struggling with the required resources to be able to cascade access or to accelerate access, it will be difficult if we are not able to manage the very limited ones that we have.
And currently, we are living in a situation of a pandemic where sanitation is the key protection that we can give everybody, aside from social distancing. So, this plays a very important role. So, how is that working out?
Absolutely. You know, we have this adage that a society is as healthy as its most vulnerable people. If the most vulnerable people are not, you know, healthy enough, you know, it also tells very negatively on the society in general.
Yes.
And so looking at water supply and sanitation services, we take it as a frontline defense mechanism to be able to ensure that we are able to practice health seeking behaviors that are also preventing the spread of the virus. And in fact, it is even more needed than any other time in history, because when you talk of sanitizers for poor communities that they cannot afford, you know, sanitizers, it becomes obvious for them to be able to hugely rely on water and soap to be able to ensure they are safe and their immediate families and neighbors are safe. So this is the more reason that we believe everyone must be brought on board to be able to ensure no one gets sick or dies of preventable causes when it has to do with water supply and sanitation services. Because when we look at the rights to water and sanitation, as at 2010, the United Nations already have adopted, you know, through its member states, that it is every citizen's right to have access to water supply and sanitation services. And it must be a contravention for every government to allow their own precious citizens to lose their lives because they are just not able to provide them access. So this is the more reason that we felt, you know, it is more of a clear on call for COVID-19 to be able to spotlight on some of those issues that we have long neglected and taken for granted over the period.
Yes, because we are living in an era where water shortage is also a very big issue, and when things like that happen, it is usually the lower class that is neglected.
Yeah,
So you doing this work for them is the need of the hour. Let me put it that way.
thank you.
Um, please tell us more about the global call to action against poverty, the GCAP.
GCAP has been in existence since the beginning of the Millennium Development Goals. That was in 2000. And it is an anti-poverty movement, basically, globally, to be able to look at key issues of addressing poverty, inequality, and justice for all. Part of the work of GCAP over the period has been, you know, like engaging with international financial institutions to be able to ensure that poor countries are able to, you know, thrive in a way that is even more consistent with their own context. So part of the post 2015 agenda, bringing in the sustainable development goals, the global call to action against poverty now works precisely to be able to ensure that they are able to work with governments across the world in accelerating the delivery of the sustainable development goals by 2030.
Wow. So you have a goal for till 2030 already ready.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. You are also in the executive committee for the civil society platform for peace building and state building. What does your work there involve?
The civil society platform for peace building and state building is a platform of civil society institutions who are primarily focused on issues of fragility, issues of conflict prevention, issues of peace building generally. And we have been working, for example, around identifying the major drivers of conflicts in our respective countries. We have identified key issues of fragility, like what are some of the key features that throws a country into fragility, and how we use some of those assessments to be able to ensure that governments are able to address the full recommendations within it. When we, for example, we started off with what we call the New Deal for engagement in fragile states. And the New Deal for engagement in fragile states was spearheaded by the G7 plus countries, the group of 7 countries. Like these are mostly
Global South.
countries, exactly. So these are countries that came together, but now it is G7 plus, because we now have countries who are outside of that bracket, but are also very much integral to the agenda of the peace building goals. So these are basically the work of the New Deal, and our work primarily is to be able to ensure that we provide a much clearer civil society lens and engagement when it comes to issues of conflict prevention and peace building.
When you say conflict prevention, what does this include?
This basically includes what throws a country into chaotic situations. Like, for example, when you look at issues of institutions not delivering for what they were created for, like institutions of government, and these institutions of government, the fact that they are not functional, it becomes a burden on government and equally on the people. And when the people decide to also act otherwise, it of course becomes a problem for all. So when you look at inclusivity, how can governance systems be inclusive, bringing everybody, irrespective of social status, to be able to contribute to their own development processes? It becomes even more owned, and ownership becomes even more deepened to be able to ensure that everybody becomes part of the steering force. When we look at conflict prevention, for example, we're also looking at key issues of livelihoods. How many people are employed? What are their sources of livelihood? And how is, for example, government providing that level of support to be able to ensure their livelihoods are sustained? How is government making use of public resources, to be able to ensure that those resources are translating into public good? So these are all key issues that we are looking at, not just the physical aspect of conflict prevention, but we are looking at it more from a governance perspective to be able to ensure that it's a kind of a puzzle. And being a puzzle, I mean, these are smaller pieces that forms it, and we look at all of those smaller pieces of the puzzle in detail to be able to ensure that we take the required actions necessary for government to be able to also act on.
And you have done so much work related to peace building and community development. How did you first begin?
Okay, my work actually started in the early 2000s, when I actually, well, I was still in my young ages, I would say. So I was volunteering with an organization called Peace Links. And Peace Links at the time was, working more closely with ex-combatants who were just disarming from the war and trying to reintegrate back into normal society. So when I started volunteering with them, I became the coordinator of the young generation to be able to ensure that we work with those ex-combatants that we were reintegrating back into society. So part of my work actually was inspired because of that, because I saw that hidden potential in me at the time when I didn't feel there was this aspect of me that can do so much to be able to help society transform. So we are able to work very closely with key partners, and governments, to be able to ensure that we are able to have like for example, a reintegration model, that we use drama, and multimedia to be able to ensure that we reach out to communities, that ordinarily cannot afford to buy a TV. So getting from one community to the other was also very helpful. And ex-combatants being able to also talk to their people, and an opportunity to be able to say sorry, for areas that they've gone wrong, was quite a revealing opportunity that we had, during those trying moments. So when Peace Links actually decided to fold up, we still had a passion, we still had a dream, and it was a way to also pass on the baton to be able to also ensure that we continue that very passion and inspiration going forward.
And you said you started young, and that is the age where everybody is so confused, especially right now. A lot of youth is confused right now because it's basically a pause on your life. So
Absolutely.
yeah, if you would like to tell them something that would inspire them at this time.
According to Dalai Lama, he says, if you ever feel you are insignificant or too small to bring about change, try sleeping in an enclosed room with just one mosquito. You will see the change that mosquito will make. So
Okay.
I take that as one critical touch to fly with, because in a society where everybody seems to be in problem, whether you are rich or not, everybody have their own problem. I mean, having the solution to some of these problems are not easy to come by. But just believing that the solutions will one day come and the answers will come, just keep acting on it. And these are the very part of the work that keeps us going. A lot of the times when we keep causing noise for government to be able to reform and transform, and a lot of people do ask us, is government really listening to your key acts? I will tell them it's a process, it's not an event. We keep making the noise until the noises get heard and government takes the required action. And even when they take action, we continue asking for more. So these are the key driving forces that we have had to also keep spinning, to be able to ensure that we just don't um, take it as an event, but as a process to be able to ensure that we reach our desired outcomes.
Wonderful. So you're basically saying that this is a situation where everybody needs to learn from and come out as a better person. I
Absolutely,
love the Dalai
absolutely,
Lama. I love the Dalai Lama example. That is why everybody loves him, I guess.
absolutely,
Uh, uh,
absolutely.
so with already so much on your plate, you are doing so many things. What inspires you to keep going? Because everybody, they get a lag after a point, after doing so much. But what inspires you to keep going?
The inspiration is actually um, very simple. That it's interesting how we keep changing governments from after every term to another. The next one come and nothing really changes. So that tells me we are looking from among few of the oppressed to choose one person to also help to oppress us the more. So part of that inspiration that I have is the fact that the change is in us, the people, and building the capacity of the people to be able to um, have their own tools in their hands to be able to determine the way their political discussions go, to be able to determine how services are requested, and to be able to understand that these services that are being provided is not done by favor or by means of charity. They must be able to take the golden destinies in their own hand. And I believe it is only now when we do have the opportunity to be able to ensure that we get citizens to be well aware, well conscious, and then with the right tools to be able to also transform their own lives. So these are the key motivation I keep going with. I just do not believe in, you know, charity interventions where we just go to a community and provide borehole services. But then for citizens to be able to demand those services based on the rights that they have. And I believe um, I have been part of that very category of people for the longest of time. And coming out of it, you know, also tells me that the problem has not ended, but it's just the beginning, you know, to bringing an end to it. So it's part of the very collective call to be able to ensure that we all work. I mean, in spite of the challenges, but we keep mustering support to be able to ensure we address them.
Yes, because you can. So there is a saying in India. I don't know if you have heard this, but it goes like this: that you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot force them to drink it.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So I just translated that into English, but it's a Hindi saying, and
Yes,
I felt
we also meant do that. We also mention that a lot on the side, but that's just true because you don't even know. I mean, whether or not the horse is thirsty, you know,
right.
or the horse is on strike or fasting, you know. Yeah,
So I just felt like in this situation, this uh, saying goes perfectly.
absolutely, absolutely. But when you build a critical mass of citizens to be able to also um, hold account their own system, it becomes even more enabling, you know, for every system to be able to work for the people instead of just allowing a governance system after election to come and do what they feel like doing.
Right. So truly said. Like, I don't know how can I add anything to that because it's like so perfectly said. so so I'll move on to the next question.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'm so awkward at this.
no problem at all.
So what vision do you have for yourself and your work?
Okay, my vision, of course, the vision I have for myself and the work I do is that I envisage a society where every member is provided an opportunity to be able to influence their own change making processes. And that in itself is a way to be able to also address issues of inequality, exclusion, and marginalization. And that provides an opportunity for people to be able to also self actualize and then be able to also prompt themselves to action that are also meaningful to their own development processes. That's just one simple vision I have.
Okay. And for your work?
For my work is to be able to sustain, the very interventions, because these are not one-off interventions. You just don't get people engaged over the period and feel like you want to wrap up. This is the more reason we have existed for several years now. So it's that sustainability that we want to continue maintaining, and we keep engaging one person at a time and one community at a time.
uh, Great vision. I hope that we see more of your vision in the near future. I'll be rooting for you. So
Absolutely.
let's change the world.
Absolutely. We can. Yes, we can.
Yes, let's change the world. Uh, do you have any word of advice for others who would like to do similar thing to what you're doing?
Few words of advice. Basically, starting is never easy. Even when you do have the resources, it's really not easy. And when you look at terrains like ours or the working environment like ours, where, for example, fundraising is extremely very difficult, you may have the passion, you may have the inspiration, you may virtually have the evidences to be able to engage because you live with your people, you live with them on a daily basis, and you see the challenges that they have had to struggle with for the longest of time. But then you just do not get the resources needed to be able to also nurse your inspiration in a way that is also consistent with the growing and emerging challenges. For me, the advice is simple. Just keep doing it. Once you keep doing it, I'm telling you for sure, you'll master the art, and then you obviously will build support and solidarity for the work that you do. Imagine starting way back in 2000, and a lot of people have had to call us, for international meetings, just to deliver some key statements, on our work, or certainly sharing case studies or like stories from the field, because we are mostly working with people and their communities, so there's no such experience as revealing as that. When you have to tell your own stories, the stories that people have had to struggle with, to understand, you now tell them in a way that is even more comfortable enough, to also garner the kind of support that you need. So we started off with no funding partner, but then as we go along, the funding partners found us to be able to also identify themselves with us, so it's quite a way forward. It's never easy, even when you have funding, but then to be able to also be consistent in your work, it takes passion and the inspiration to be able to also keep it going. I think that's those are just few words I feel is also necessary to also enable our colleagues out there.
And Musa, I think you should give yourself enough credit, because 10 years is not a short period of time. And I think our viewers should also take inspiration from you if we say that. Because,
Absolutely.
as I said before, that what keeps you going, right? So, the 10 years into this, and you still did not give up. So, you should give yourself credit as well. That take, if we are looking for stories, I think your story is also very inspiring.
Thank you. I'm pleased to hear that.
So, for our Indian viewers, please tell us more about your country and what you love about it.
Sierra Leone is a small country in West Africa, and it has approximately 7 million people, which is very, 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 very small as compared to a city in India.
Yes.
You know? So Sierra Leone underwent a civil war, a decade-long civil war, and it lasted, almost 11 years. And in 2002, officially, it was declared over. So ever since then, we have been struggling to pick the pieces together and be able to also move on with normal life. We have had 4 successful elections, and these elections have also proven that our democratic tests are also gradually materializing. And so we have been practicing democracy for some time now after the war, when we had the rebel interregnum. And one thing I like about Sierra Leone is the fact that the people are very much resilient. And it's interesting that that resilience have also helped us a lot, to cope with the challenges that we have had, but also identifying some of the key potentials that we can harness, going forward. We very much embrace we very much embrace development. We very much embrace strangers. That's why we have several Indians here in Sierra Leone. We have Pakistanis, we
Oh,
have Syrians, we have, so many people here that are also coming from elsewhere. So we virtually are a country of what I would say. We are a country of global citizens, so to speak, where you don't see um, like places you go, they will tell you people are racist. We are not like that. We are just human beings wanting to also embrace the other to be able to ensure that we create a world that is fit for all.
Beautiful. I like the word we are just human beings because that's what we are.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me properly? I just got a message that my internet is unstable.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Also, tell us about about that incident you told me before we started the live. Your Indian friend.
Yes, Anugraha John. John and I actually met for the first time in China during the World Urban Forum. And the World Urban Forum is mainly organized by UN Habitat. And as the forum to be able to also have diverse players around the world, that are focused on urban planning, urban governance, urban development, youth issues. So there was an urban youth assembly during the urban forum. So we met there. And after the forum, we were able to have um, the world's young people also voting us in as youth advisors to UN Habitat on urban youth governance issues. So then we became best of friends, and he has been very eager, to not only learn, but to be able to also share some of his perspective with others. So like being so much eager to learn, and then being able to also share, some of the things and then being more solution oriented, like a man that lives for the next thing. So it has been so much of an enabling learning perspective and experience for me as well, being a friend to him. I've also had several other friends that are Indians. Of course, they are here based in Sierra Leone, so we mostly sit on the beach, get some beer, you know. So I see them as people that are, not only fun to be with, but like every moment you get around them, you get to learn new things, and then, also explore their passion for development generally.
Did you try any Indian dishes then?
Um, well, not at all. But then I used to go to an Indian restaurant mostly because I just want to like get the familiar dishes I know, So mostly there was one called Saffron here in Freetown, and we mostly eat from the Saffron restaurants. Like when I go for my either jollof rice or fried rice, and I'm good to go, you know. you know but yes, it has been a very very great moments with few of my Indian friends, and some are also working in other places like the WSSCC, the water supply and sanitation collaborative councils, and some are in the UNDP. One of my Indian friend actually left, I think 2 years ago, from Freetown. He was the UNDP country director, you know. So we actually mostly hang around tea, I mean, just chats over the work and the challenges that they have had to deal with as UNDP, and what we are doing as civil society to be able to also complement each other's efforts.
Wonderful. I hope one day when everything goes back to normal, you can visit India as well.
Absolutely, anytime.
We would love to host you.
I'm pleased to hear that.
How can our
I'm pleased.
viewers get in touch with you and keep updated with the work that you're doing?
Um, I am on Facebook by the name Musa and Sumana Soko, and I have two Facebook actually. One is a page, and the other is my like personal Facebook. So whichever works, I am also on WhatsApp. Like if you get to my Facebook page, you'll see my WhatsApp line there. It's always a good thing keeping in touch with people, because to me, the world is fast evolving. It's a global village. The more we keep in touch, the more we get to learn. And I'm very much passionate nowadays about learning. And learning, for example, is one great way that we can also transform the society that we live. Because keeping to do the very things that we have used to over the period, certainly it keeps us in our comfort zone, but how can we like do the unusual things to be able to also see what differently that we can do to also continue transforming, and certainly also learn from what is happening elsewhere.
Right. I completely agree with that. Thank you so much for today. I'm sure you helped a lot of people, the youth and all the age and gender alike. I had a blasting time with you. I hope that you had the same with me.
Absolutely, I did. These
So
are very, very intriguing questions.
Angela framed them. They are not my questions.
But you asked them. Okay, thanks, Angela, and thanks to you.
Thank you, Angela. So this is my personal question that I usually ask because I love countries and I love knowing more about them. And you should know basically the hello and bye. So to end our session on a positive note, teach me how to say bye.
It is interesting to tell you that here we speak broken English as a local, as one of our main local language. So bye, mostly we say bye, like in bye bye, or tata.
Tata.
Tata,
Okay.
yes.
And how do you say hello?
Hello is hello. Yeah, like I
Okay.
said, it's broken English. So yeah, hello is mostly hello.
Okay, but then you gave your own touch. Tata.
Tata, yes.
Okay, so with on that note, we would like to say tata to you, and and the people who want to get in touch with you will, I'm sure they will contact you, and I'm sure this is not the last time we are meeting. Uh,
Absolutely.
so on that bittersweet goodbye, let's hope we meet again soon.
Absolutely. You have a great week and stay blessed.
Thank you, thank you.
You're most
So
welcome.
bye, tata.
Bye bye. Tata.